my experience loving Fleetway Supersonic over the years. And yes, I'm using a Fleetway edit from the entire Digital Circus. I don't know why, but I just randomly use this edit. This video is going to be me kind of geeking out about one of my absolute favorite versions of Sonic the Hedgehog. Not growing up, because I didn't grow up where he originally came from, but I loved the character for a very long time in my life, for like a long time. Originally I was going to talk about the YouTube stuff, like more stuff on that, but you know, my channel is geared, I mean, don't get me wrong, that video was valid, you know, and stuff, but I don't want to talk more than once about it, you know, about the YouTube age verification stuff. But anyways, so I wanted to make this video for quite a long time talking about Fleetway Supersonic and why do I love this character, right? I love Fleetway Supersonic because the writers of the Fleetway comics decided to do Supersonic in a way that was completely different from the norm. That was completely different from any other Sonic, okay? Keep this in mind. Fleetway Supersonic was before Sonic EXE, was before, I think, not before Majin Sonic, that weird face Sonic, because it was like on a game over screen from like one of the older Sonic games, but technically you can say before because, you know, he was shown in comic form and all that other sort of stuff before. It's a whole thing. I'm not going to get into meat and potatoes of which one came out first. That's a whole different thing. But the reason I wanted to make this video, like I said, is because I love Fleetway Supersonic, like, a lot. He's one of my favorite versions of Supersonic, you know? It's, what would happen if Sonic, instead of being a golden superhero, he becomes a golden villainy chaos of destruction, right? It's Sonic that lost his goddamn marbles, okay? Oh, I gotta reply to Dave real quick. He's off. And I'm streaming. Or off. Yeah, he's off. But anyways. And I don't know, a part of me just can't stop loving the fact that he's unhinged. He's off his rocker. Fleetway Supersonic is off his rocker, man. And I don't know, a part of me just loves that, you know, about Fleetway. Like, he's crazy. He's maniacal. He wants to murk everybody. He wants everything in his life to be his. And it's so cool what they did with the character. Because instead of making, again, Supersonic be goody two-shoes, he saves the world with awesome power, he becomes... think of, like, Kid Buu. Pandu, I'm from America, by the way. And also, hi, how you doing? That's where I'm from. I'm from the States. I'm from Phoenix. I'm from the U.S., you know. But, anyways, I just love the way he just goes about things, wanting to destroy his other half, Sonic. Not to show that he's the real Sonic, but just not only destroy him, but he also wants to destroy everything he stands for, everything he lives for, right? Because basically, Fleetway is a being made of pure chaos energy. And if he doesn't sustain his chaos energy, you know, within himself, he will die. But if he gets juiced up too much from chaos energy, he'll go fucking ballistic and crazy. Because, keep in mind, Fleetway Supersonic as a character has two sides, right, of himself. Because obviously he originates from Sonic the Hedgehog in the comics, like Fleetway Sonic, base Sonic, if you will, right? And basically he has two sides. When he lost his memory in the comics, read up the comics before you watch this video, of course. When, because I'll go into heavy spoilers about the comics. Fleetway Sonic at one point lost his memory, right? And he actually was becoming a good person. He was generally becoming a good guy. Like, he wasn't crazy, he wasn't ballistic, he just looks fucking scary, right? He looks like someone you don't want to fuck around with and find out, right? That was Fleetway's energy when, like, just even when he was, like, normal. Like, he lost his memories, he lost all that hatred, that anger, that love and destruction, that love and evil incarnate, right? When he forgot all that, he was, like, a simple dude trying to live his life, but also trying to, like, become, like, a new person, but also try to remember what he did. And I also love how over the years there's people who make comic dubs of Fleetway, you know, trying to keep Fleetway Sonic or Fleetway Supersonic's memory alive by, you know, not only putting him in sprite fights, but you got comic dubs of the characters of people redrawing the events from the comics or just drawing Fleetway as a character because this crazy motherfucker left an impact in the Sonic community like no other. Because you know how like we see Sonic EXE today, and we see like all these different variations of like evil demonic Sonic. You can really say all those different types of evil Sonics kind of originated from him. And also Majin Sonic, you know, Majin Sonic as in like that one twisted clown face Sonic. But mainly you can say a lot of it originated from Fleetway because, you know, they take what Fleetway does to another level. But I like how Fleetway Supersonic is like that cartoon crazy evil that we see, like, not see a lot, but we see like sometimes, you know. And I just think like seeing Fleetway, like in animations, comic dubs, the comics from way back in the day, I think it's so fucking cool that we still see him around. He's still relevant today in a lot of people's eyes. My eyes too. He had some badass moments like being trapped in a different dimension and, you know, being able to get out of that dimension and want to cause chaos on Amy and friends. Showing us he has different abilities than regular Supersonic. Like, for example, he can fly at super speeds. He has super strength. Like, can't really get, you know, damaged or hurt by a lot of things. Like, if you really think about it, right, it's like Fleetway was like one of the originators of like crazy Sonic. Mazin was the first of the creepy Sonic since his ass appeared on Sonic CD when you put in the code on the sound screen. Yeah, my animation got an error. I need to start all over again. Void, I apologize that your animation had to start all over again, my guy. I apologize for that. Also, check out my shorts, y'all. I uploaded like 6 to 7 of those today. Check them out if you want to. They're in the shorts little thing. But anyways, back to what I was saying about Fleetway, bro. Like, and I don't know, but just over the years, man, of seeing all the sprite fights, seeing everybody on Twitter and other media drawing him, voicing the character, doing comic dubs, keeping his memory alive long after the Fleetway comics already kind of wrapped up and finished. Watching this nigga shoot laser beams in the comics, moves that Sonic's never done in super form. Matter of fact, I would argue Fleetway has done more interesting things in supersonic form than we've actually seen Supersonic even do in the games. I mean, you can argue me on that, right? Like, you might be able to argue me, like, okay, well, you know, until recently with Frontiers, but, like, let's take Frontiers out of the picture. Supersonic doesn't really do all that much, right? Fleetway was kind of carrying that on his back a little bit, you know, doing cool new moves, eye lasers, because how would Fleetway do eye lasers and shit? I mean, Sonic X is probably another example where Supersonic did do some things cool, but anyways, you don't have a copy? Fuck, bro, that sucks. But I wanted to get on here for a little bit and just kind of glaze Fleetway, you know, Fleetway Supersonic, try to tell you guys a little bit about him, a little bit about his story, but mostly glazing him up because I feel like he deserves to be glazed up. Fleetway Supersonic was such a good idea, and I wish Sega would try to find some way to incorporate Fleetway Sonic again, and we can somewhat see that if you guys remember the, if you guys somewhat remember, Final Horizon, where they kind of made a reference to Fleetway Sonic, you know, and Fleetway Supersonic with the cyber corruption, even corrupting Supersonic. Like, he was so juiced up, he was so energized that all he could think about was tearing the Void and, you know, Supreme to fucking shreds, you know. And I thought that was really cool how they referenced Fleetway Supersonic in that, showing us that, yeah, if Sonic was juiced up enough and had so much energy, maybe he could go ballistic with all that energy and all that other sort of stuff. But I really love how they referenced that in Frontiers. And not only just Frontiers, but I just love the character in general and how he went from a psychopath to someone that actually was trying to live a life of peace. And I love how Ebony, you know, that cat chick from way back in the day and the sheep girl from way back in the day, you know, also tried to be there for Fleetway as well, kind of like as sister figures or friends looking after him and stuff during the days he, you know, because I can't remember how he died or something. I think it was because either the comic got canceled or he sacrificed himself for the greater good, or maybe he went rogue again. I can't really remember like all the details, but I do remember that like what Fleetway did within his time, it was so fucking cool. And I wish we spent way more time with Fleetway Sonic. And also I want to thank like everybody who's made videos on Fleetway Supersonic in the past, like before me or whatever. You know, kind of also giving light to the character and showing Sonic fans that, hey, there's another version of Sonic you might like out there, and whatnot, and so on and so forth, you know, shit. But I just want to talk about him for a little bit, then maybe like go vlog or something, but because Fleetway deserves fucking love. He deserves love, and I feel like we don't give him enough, you know. I want more Fleetway Supersonic love, and I think no Roblox. I'm not gonna do Roblox until all this shit dies down and shit, like I mentioned prior. But anyways, I'll see you guys in a bit. I'll probably vlog or something else. I don't know. I gotta figure this shit out, man. But Fleetway, I love you always, buddy. You're a fucking pro. You're fucking awesome. And I just love how crazy you are, man. And honestly, well, actually, one last thing. I actually like Fleetway Supersonic because unlike a lot of other, like, evil Sonics out there that fans have come up with, I felt like Fleetway, out of all, like, the evil, crazy Sonics, Fleetway, like, I felt like was, like, the perfect, like, hear me out, right? I felt, and you guys can feel free to disagree, right? I felt like Fleetway was like the perfect balance for an evil Sonic. You know what I mean? Because like if you look at Sonic EXE and a lot of these other ones, they're just evil because they're evil. They quote unquote like murder people, or they have blood on their fingers or blood coming out of their eyes. They have big old red eyes with black pupils. I don't know, I just feel like all that shit for like an evil Sonic is just overdoing it, you know, in my opinion. I just feel like, I don't know, the design just feels a little bit, not too much like scary, but more like, like I've seen that aesthetic on so many characters prior to Sonic, it's not even funny. Matter of fact, you can actually argue that there's probably too many evil Sonics nowadays, in my opinion. I just feel like Fleetway just did it the best, because he wasn't overstaying his welcome in the design department. You know, it's a simple design, supersonic with more jaggy-haired spikes, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, and the eyes are completely different from regular supersonic. They're like these little lines that kind of like hypnotized-looking eyes and shit. It looks fucking cool. It's different, and it's, I don't know, his design is different enough. It kind of doesn't, like, just make me look at it and be like, a little bit too much edge, you know? We talk about Unleash. No, I'm talking about, Fleetway Supersonic. If you ever heard of him, he's actually the thumbnail of the video, of the stream, actually. Just talking about him a little bit before I go, like, vlog or go do another my experience on a different game or something. Just want to kind of talk about the boy a little bit. Just kind of talk about Fleetway for a little bit, you know, spend the time talking about that and shit. But anyways, I'll see you guys in a little bit with something else. Peace out.